Hi, I'm Gay Taylor from Just Patchwork. Today we're doing Felty Friday. So it's a class that we normally do once a month in store, but because of isolation we haven't been able to do it. So I thought, well, I'll start presenting it to you so you can see what we do in class. We do a lot more because there's a lot more time. But I'm working with 100% wool felt, means it doesn't stretch, peel or fray. So different to felted wool or a blend or acrylic. So all of those stretch, peel and fray. This one, it doesn't matter how much I pull on it, what heat I do to it, it won't get that pilly look to it. So I can be working on it, leave things for quite a while before I add them to projects. So I've got one here that I've done quite a while ago. I've got them in a box, so that when I go to do a project and I think, oh yes, I just want to add a few more those of the flowers to it, I'll add them on. So I have them all done. I'd like to show you actually how to thread a needle first of all. So the threads that I use are Pearl 8 threads. So we have generally Pearl 5, Pearl 8 and Pearl 12. Pearl 5 is thicker. Pearl 12 is thinner than Pearl 8. The other thing is with the Pearl 8, especially in the DMC, we're going to get a lot more variety of colours in it. So that's one of the things I like. I actually have quite a few boxes plus bags full of thread so that I've got plenty to use. I use DMC and I also use Wonderfill. So I've got the best of every world possible as far as colours to use. So threads actually become the cheapest part of any of a project, because once you've bought quite a few threads you can use them over and over and over again for many projects. So it's not like you're having to buy new ones all the time. I go through and work out what I'm going to use in a lot of instances as I'm doing a project. So if we look at what I've got on the back wall, the pink one is a new one I'm doing called Home Sweet Home, and the flowers I'm going to demonstrate partly today are going to be used on that. The one that you can just see a sneak preview up the top is the new birds in the nest, so you can see some of the garden elements in that at the moment. It was a matter of what could I fit into the screen and also show you how we're going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the needle. I'm actually not going to cut the thread from the reel yet. I'm actually going to leave it attached to there. I will run that through my teeth just to flatten it out, and then I'm going to thread my needle. Now the needles I use are embroidery size 5, so we sell them packs of 15 in a pack, and I've actually threaded up quite a few of my colours already. So I've got them here on my board, which is one of the things that I use when I'm doing wool felt appliqué, because I can press onto this and do a lot of my stitches. So I've threaded that. This is the end that I've threaded. It's coming just down to there. I'm then going to take my scissors and then just cut that off the reel. So the purpose of that is that it's actually going in the right direction. I'm actually going to put my thread huggy back onto my reel so that it doesn't come undone. So packets of thread huggies are invaluable as well. They'll fit around many size balls and reels. So I'm going to then do a quilter's knot in the end. So taking my end of my thread up to the eye of the needle, I'm going to turn it round about 3 or 4 times around the needle, grab hold of that with my right hand, I'm a right-hander, take my left hand, push those wraps that I just did over the eye of the needle, down the eye, take them right to the end, and where I'm actually holding that is where the knot's going to form. So that's going to form in that area. If I think that that's too long to use, I'm actually just going to cut it off. So this pink that I'm using, I've already added a little star to the middle of this one. So when I'm making these flowers, I'm actually going to do 5 layers of wool felt. I'll actually work on the small one first, add that onto my next one, Then I'm going to put my third one on underneath. So at any one time, I'm only working through 2 layers of wool felt. So I'm not having to work through many layers to get through. This one that I'm doing here is just going to be a whip stitch. So I'm actually just whipping the pale pink onto the mauve. So the whip stitch is a great stitch to use just to add things on. I decided I didn't want to do a decorative stitch on that as such, but I've used a contrasting thread, so that's given the decoration to it. But whip stitch is used in a lot of instances where we want to add what we've constructed onto a background fabric, and in that case I would possibly just use a coordinating thread so the colour would match in with what I was adding on. And if you look behind at what I've done on the back, the house that I've got there, I've used just a soft grey to sew that on. I've whip stitched it onto the background. The windows are done in a soft yellow, those squares. I've whip stitched those on, but then I've added some decorative stitches onto the top of that. So I'm just whip stitching this around to do it, because the next stitch I'm going to do, and I'm going to demonstrate it for this, is our French knots. And French knots can be the undoing of a lot of people doing handwork, and they'll say, no, I'm never going to do one of those again. So I thought it was worthwhile showing you how I do my French knots. And so I'm just about round to where I started. When I started, remember, I used a knot. When I'm going to finish, I'm actually just going to run back underneath virtually just a layer of the wool felt and do that, then go back underneath the stitch just to do it. But there's many ways of finishing off. This is going to be covered by the next circle, so it's not like it's going to be seen. I'm then going to stitch this next one with I've got a pale pink one already done, and I've got the knot already into the back of it. What I'm going to do is actually do a row of French knots going round onto the mauve one. So onto the mauve, I'm going to do French knots. Now to do my French knot, I'm going to bring up my thread from the back. I'm actually going to place what I'm working on down onto my board or onto a level surface. I'm actually going to work in an anti-clockwise position, so my French knots, I'll be advancing to what I call my left rather than working back onto myself. I'm going to hold down what I'm working with either this finger or that finger or both of them together, hold it down with that, so that I've then got my other 3 fingers on my right hand to manipulate my needle, but my left hand is going to become very important in that it's going to wrap around, take the thread around the needle. I've also got quite a long tail here that I'm holding it up above. I'm actually going to turn the needle and I'm going to push it down, but I've still got hold of the thread with my left hand. I'm going to give it a tug to pull those wraps down into there, and then I'm going to push it through. So the secret of it is to make sure that you leave that little tail or leave a gap, so wrapping it round up here, not way down beside it, so that I've got room to move the needle around, take that down round there, pull it through, and then we're going to pull that through. So that's given me 2 beautiful looking French knots. So I'm going to proceed right round and do the whole lot with that one. Once that's done, I can then add my next layer, and I'll check and see what colour I want to use, and I'll be adding another layer and another stitch. But that'll be for another day that we talk about it. But thanks very much.